guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay guys, I'm back and it is Friday, September 6th, and it is 10:31 p.m. I am getting a late start tonight, but what I'm going to do is this video, I'm going to keep it fairly short and get it uploaded and then work on a second video, because even though it's late, I've got lots of energy. At least I do now. So that's the plan. Now let's get into the Q-related news. But first, let's thank some people. Now, these are the people here that donated through coffee. Peggy J from Missouri, thank you. Beverly, and she wants to be anonymous. And A.S., and this person wishes to be anonymous as well. And this I found interesting, Elsie from Sarnia, Ontario. So she is in the same province that I am in, and I do have a few listeners from Canada, actually more than I would have thought, considering that my content is mainly American and focused on America. But I'm always glad to see a fellow Canadian. So there you go. Now, I did go, and I've got cat hair on my lips. I can feel it. It's stuck in my lipstick. Anyway, I went and checked on the mail today, and I got some really interesting stuff. Well, first I got from Sandy, Sophie, and Scout, and I would imagine that Sophie and Scout, Scout sounds like a dog's name. Sophie, maybe a cat, so she can correct me. But Sandy, Sophie, and Scout from Georgia. Georgia's, you know, right up there, close to my favorite state, if not my favorite state. I love Georgia. She sent a note and a donation. Thank you very much. And Pam B from San Antonio, Texas. Texas is another state that I really like. At least the hillier parts. Pam B from San Antonio, Texas, she sent a card and a very generous donation, and thank you so very much. Also, Pam J from California sent a wonderful card and note with little stickers all over it, and I loved it. And RM from California. Well, here's one of these fun things, and I'm going to switch back here so I can see if you're seeing it. They sent me this Pepe mug, and I love it. I laughed when I saw this. I really did. And a donation, and the Pepe coaster. So this will be the official coaster of Deception Bytes, the official coaster. This will be the coaster for all my beverages. So yes, and I would say that this is going to be my official mug, but I've received other mugs that I like as well. But I love this. I really do. So thank you so much. And let's go back here. And this has got to be, this is the most unique gift ever. Like ever. Now, I'm going to go back over here and show you. Okay. And I know you're saying, okay, it's just a Trump figurine. No, that's where you'd be wrong. It does. Oh my gosh, there are so many things that you can press it and that he says. So let me see. We'll try a couple.
Basically, all I've done is keep my promise.
I love it. I love it.
Fox and Friends in the morning, they're very honorable people. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
Yay!
ISIS has spread like cancer. Another mess I inherited.
True.
When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice. Tomorrow they will say, Donald Trump rants and raves at the press. I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just telling you, you're dishonest people.
It goes on. There's all sorts of them. In fact, I don't even think I've gotten to the end of all of them yet. But I had this sitting here on my little counter here. Well, it's like a table that I pull up to my chair. And it was just sitting here, and I went to the bathroom before I began, and I came back, and there was Xander chewing on his thumb. Yes, see, can you get, I don't know, can you see that better? Yeah, there he is, my very own Donald Trump. I love it. And that was from Jennifer M. She has been a long-time listener, long time, because I recognize her by her both her first name and last name, which I won't mention. But I forget this one. She got, it looks like it, well, not looks like, she did get it through Amazon, and Amazon sent it to Mississauga, which is on the other side of Toronto, to fulfill it and get sent to me. But I can't remember where Jennifer M is from, and I know, but I can't remember, and it didn't say on the package. But thank you, Jennifer. You made my day. You really did. All right. Now, have one more thing to mention, and more on a serious note here. Now, GP from Kentucky and her puppies, Ollie and Toby, I received and read what you sent, and I will be snail mailing you back for reasons that are obvious to us both. Okay? And that's all I'll say about that. All right. And I believe you. Wholeheartedly, I believe you. So let's go on from that. And now somebody sent this to me on Twitter, and I thought I would share this with you as well. Because, well, you know, me and cat funny things. Anything that's about cats or living with cats, it makes me laugh. So let's look at this. This guy says, "Hey, what's in the package?" "I don't know. It's addressed to the cat." The guy says, "It's empty." And the guy goes, "Yeah, you know, it looks empty." And then the cat jumps in it. The cat ordered the box so that, you know how cats are. They don't care about what's in the box, but they really care about the box. So, all right, there's that. And I am going to be pinning this. Someone else sent this to me, Spud Forever, and he's on Twitter. Great person to follow. Spud Forever, at Spud Forever, and on Twitter. And he sent me this link, and I have the book, but this is a link to the audio. I think it's the audio version, the audio version of the book. It's completely free. So this is a very good book. It's by William Cooper, and it's just really good. Now, I'm not going to say I agree with everything in the book. Like, I think if I can remember properly, and it's been a while since I've read it, but there's some things about aliens in there that I don't personally agree with. So don't take it that I'm personally agreeing with everything that's in that book. But there are some really interesting things that he predicted way back. Wasn't prophesying, he just knew the way it was going to go. So that is a good thing, and I'm going to pin that to the very first comment, so you'll have it. And if you want to go out and listen to that book, or just save the link for when you have time to listen to it, it's definitely worth it. Definitely. All right. Now, if you don't like chatting, which some of you just come, you want the news and you want to go, no nonsense, no whatever, but I'm going to tell you this because I know several of you like to chat, and you feel like you know me personally, just as I feel like I know many of you personally. Those of you that comment all the time, I definitely feel like I know personally. But I have to tell you this because it's so funny, and I have to go back over here to see if it's going to show up. All right. Now, before my, okay, I had to take my mom to a driving lesson. All right. And I was coming home, and she said, "Well, can you go around by such and such farms because I need such and such and such and such." And this area is wonderful. It's very healthy here. You know, I get all my meat. It's local meat. It's grass-fed. And, you know, I get my eggs from free-range chickens in the area. This is an agricultural area. So we have our own cheese factories that take the milk from local cows and make it into cheese and so forth. And everything's very healthy. And in the summer, I love it because there's all sorts of farms here. You can go and get fresh fruit and vegetables and fresh, you know, jams and pickled beets. And I mean, anything that, you know, you could think of. So Mom said, "Well, you know, do you mind if we stop here?" And I said, no, we'll stop. And so I picked up a few things. I got some free-range eggs and so forth, and my mom had got some things, and I really didn't know what she had picked up. And so I take her home and I'm dropping her back, and my stepfather comes out and greets us and how did it go and whatever. And I love this man. I could not have got a better stepfather if I had personally selected him. Really, just a wonderful man. But he's got this childlike enthusiasm for life, and it's contagious. And he loves toys. Like the more bizarre, the better. So I always, when I find weird, really whacked out weird stuff, I always pick it up for him. Well, as we're getting out of the car, Mom says, "Oh, by the way, these cucumbers are the best I've ever tasted, and I got some more of them, and will you take one to try it?" And so I took it, and this is it. It's like the kind of cucumbers that you make pickles out of. So, well, I had got my stepfather probably about a year ago. I had got him, and it looks identical to this. I mean, identical. But it has a little button on it. And you press the button, and the pickle yodels. Like, really, it goes on and on and on, yodeling. And it's called the yodeling pickle. So I got this for him, and he's tormented me with it ever since. I mean, literally, he has tormented me, because I'll call there and the phone just has his name, but I never know whether it's him or my mom that's calling me. So I'll pick up the phone and all I hear is yodeling, and it'll go on yodeling, and I have to wait till this thing's done, and then I'll say, "I'm gonna hurt you. I know where you live." And it was tormenting me. And he was tormenting his two daughters as well. He would call them. And the one daughter, I mean, has a very, very important job and is very serious. She just does not have, maybe she has a sense of humor, but it's definitely not like his. And so he would call and he'd play it for the kids who loved it. They'd want to hear it over and over again. And he would drive her crazy and his other daughter crazy. So it's like, it got to the point where, "Would you shut that pickle up?" So my mom just hands me this and says, "Well, try this because, these are really good and they're really sweet and, they're the best I've ever tasted." So I said, I looked at it. And I looked at her, and then I looked at him, and I looked at the pickle. And she said, "What?" And I said, "Okay, I'll take it, but if it starts yodeling, you're going to find it in the ditch." So, yeah. You probably had to be there to get the humor in that, but it really was funny, and I really was listening. Does it yodel? And it hasn't so far. But if it does, it's out of here. Yeah. And I hope it doesn't scream when I bite into it. So, or peel its skin off. I don't like that. I don't like that when vegetables scream. Okay. Now, I guess you're wanting me to get to the news now. And, well, I'm thinking that it's probably time. So let's get to it. Alrighty. Okay. Now, I'm going to put this link, remember, I'm going to put it to the first pinned comment so that everyone has it. And thank you, Spud Forever. All right, and we're going to go to this. I've got so much stuff here, so I'll probably have to do 2 videos for sure. Come on. Oh, come on. You have to talk nice to it and buy it dinner, I guess, for the links to work. Okay, now, did the Obama administration commit the biggest accounting fraud in history with student loans? Experts weigh in. The Wall Street Journal's editorial board recently suggested that the Obama administration pulled off the biggest accounting fraud in history with student loans when eliminating the role of private lenders in the federal student lending market. Experts who spoke with Yahoo Finance acknowledged the issue with the general policy in hindsight, though they disagreed on who exactly is to blame. In 2010, Democrats nationalized the market to help pay for Obamacare, Wall Street Journal asserted. The Congressional Budget Office at the time forecast that eliminating private lenders would save taxpayers $58 billion over 10 years. This estimate was pure fantasy, and now we're seeing how much. The Wall Street Journal op-ed also highlighted the rising number of severely delinquent student loans since then and blamed the Obama administration for expanding plans in 2012 for new borrowers to reduce defaults, buy off millennial voters, and disguise the cost of its student loan takeover. The editorial board then added, "This may be the biggest accounting fraud in history." Wall Street Journal argued that eliminating private lenders from the student loan market severely hurt Americans and that by using fair market accounting, it becomes clear that student loans will actually cost taxpayers nearly $307 billion over the next 10 years. Yeah, $307 billion. And they were upset about a few billion to build the wall, which would save us a lot of money. All right. A widely known deficiency of the Federal Credit and Reform Act is that it does not allow the CBO to incorporate market risk into assessments, Holtz-Eakin told Yahoo Finance. So the loans, when they're evaluated, are evaluated as safer than they truly are, and thus the losses are smaller than they may truly be. And there's no way around that. The techniques force you to do that. He added, that's why when they switched from the private loans to the government loans, it appeared to save money. That is misleading. I don't disagree, but it's not the CBO's fault. Those are the rules. And story continues. Sheila Bair, the chair of the U.S. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, from 2006 to 2011, agreed that the Wall Street Journal was right to call out the government on the accounting issue and stressed that it is a huge problem with federal budgeting and transparency generally. Leave it up to Obama. So, income-based repayment plans were poorly designed. The Wall Street Journal argued that the key catalyst for the student debt crisis today, $1.48 trillion student loans outstanding, with 35% of the consumer loans in the severely derogatory category, was a result of the Obama administration's policies regarding income-driven repayment, IDR plans. Income-driven repayment plans allows borrowers to cap monthly student loan payments based on how much money they are making at a given time. As of September 2018, almost half of the $898 billion in outstanding federal direct loans were being repaid by borrowers using IDR plans, according to the Government Accountability Office. Holtz-Eakin agreed with Wall Street Journal, arguing that CBO cannot anticipate a future action of either the Congress or the administration. If the government chooses to move a whole bunch of loan forgiveness and income-based repayment models, they can't anticipate that, and both of those things bring in less money. He explained the money goes out and it doesn't come back, and they're bigger losses. Holtz-Eakin added that the Obama administration did that on a regular basis. There was nothing CBO could have done about it. Former FDIC Chair Bair, who had Chair Bair. Now I lost, I shouldn't make jokes because I lose my spot. See, that should be a lesson to me. Former FDI Chair Bair, who headed the agency during part or both of the Bush and Obama administrations, argued that the issue arose from the poor design of the repayment plan system. This has been a couple decades in the making, frankly, said Bair. I think that the concept of a payment based on income is a good one. It's not a bad one, but the way things have been designed, it's like the worst of all possible worlds. With borrowers often in thousands of dollars in student debt, IDR plans are seen as an alternative for borrowers with high debt and low income. But the current income-based repayment plan is very poorly designed and confusing, Bair said. The Wall Street Journal pointed out that borrowers end up owing more than they borrowed, even though they're repaying their loans, called negative amortization, which Bair acknowledged. And I know all about that. It's true. You end up paying way more than you borrowed. with a true income share, you have higher earners paying more and lower earners paying less, but you let the higher earners pay more to help with the cross-subsidization of the lower earners and also just to mitigate the budget impact, said Baer. But what the government does do now is they cap you out. In other words, if a borrower decides that they want to increase their monthly repayment amounts, instead of being able to pay back loans quickly, they're capped out because the repayment structure is based on their income. Hence, the borrower, despite being able to increase payments, is stuck with a loan that's accruing interest for possibly 20 or 25 years. The other issue was underwriting. Previously, the government guaranteed student loans that borrowers took out from private lenders. Today, it controls more than 90% directly. When the Obama administration got rid of the guarantee program with the private sector out of the process and made it a direct federal loan, they got rid of all underwriting, Holtz-Eakin noted, and so they recreated the worst aspects of the subprime mortgage lending crisis, he stated. They gave anyone who walked up a loan without any notion of their capacity to repay. Yeah, so Obama has done far more damage to this country than even we realize. And I think it's becoming more and more apparent the longer that Trump is in office, because these things are coming to light. And let's hope they continue to come to light. And let's hope that Trump is going to do something about this, because this man is not a politician. He's a businessman. And that's exactly what we needed to run this country and to get it out of where it was. And he's doing well. So let's just hope and pray that he continues and he gets elected for 4 more years. So let me go back. Hang on here. And, okay, remember, and I covered this, oh gosh, it's been a while ago now. Remember, and I played the video showing that Trump did no such thing. This campaign staffer claimed that Trump forcibly kissed her against her will, and she was issuing a lawsuit. The problem is there was a video, and there was video taken from different angles, showing that Trump never touched her. He leaned forward to say something to her, but he did not kiss her. There was no contact of his lips with any part of her body. So anyway, she is now dropping her lawsuit, probably because she realizes that she doesn't have a hope of winning it, because the video was made public, and I showed it on this program. I don't know which program it was, but hang on here. Come on. Yeah, this is her, and just didn't happen. I don't know if this shows the video. Yes, it does. So let me play it just quickly so that you can see what I'm talking about. No such contact occurred. And I know that there are new listeners coming on board and some that may have missed that show. So I'll just play it briefly here, and then we'll move on.
My family for 8 months for you. Oh, thank you. For 8 months for you. Thank you. We're going to get you into the White House. I'll sleep in February. Baxter, Indiana. We'll get you over here. I'm not going to see your dad.
Okay, this one does not show from the angle. What he did was he kissed the air, and he didn't pull her into himself, and she was the one that was gushing all over him. And you know, yeah. Anyway, another thing debunked. They just keep coming at him, and I think this young lady is just an opportunist, because he knows that Trump has a lot of money, and you know, she thought, hey, this is my chance. Even though she was his campaign staffer and, you know, was obviously all for Trump and was delighted to see him and saying, you know, gushing over him, basically. So, yeah, I'm glad to see that's been dropped, because she wouldn't have won it. There's no way. All right, now this, something else interesting. No, really, it is. And media blackout. Well, that's nothing new, but Media blackout. Detective who led Epstein investigation died after brief illness at 50. Why didn't we hear about it in the mainstream media? I don't know. Yeah, I think we all know. Again, another story that didn't quite make it into the mainstream news narrative involving Jeffrey Epstein. In June of last year, decorated former Palm Beach detective Joseph Recarey died after a brief illness at the age of 50. That's pretty young to die, really. That's young. Especially up here, because we have a much longer lifespan than you guys, probably because we have socialized medicine, even though it sucks. All right. And that's basically all we know, but do a search for him and you'll barely see anything in the mainstream media or even alternative media about his death. Well, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. This was done September 6th by Tim Brown. So this is the first time I'm hearing about it. Anyway, I thought if I'm the first person, if I'm just hearing about it, probably you guys are as well and would be interested. In 2018, the Palm Beach Daily News reported on his death, but there wasn't much to report concerning the cause. Joseph Recarey, a former Palm Beach detective who had a knack for making others smile, who tackled the island's greatest and most important investigations, and who cared deeply for his family and friends, died Friday, May 25th, 2018, after a brief illness. He was 50. Recarey was one of the most decorated police officers in the history of the department, with more than 150 commendations, 11 Officer of the Month awards, and a 2013 Palm Beach Police Foundation Officer of the Year award. Ryder said he worked in several units, including the Organized Crime Vice and Narcotics Unit and the Palm Beach County State Attorney's Public Integrity Unit. He was a lead detective in many major investigations, including the high-profile solicitation of minors case against billionaire Epic Find. Don't want to say that name too much and draw any attention, unwanted attention. You know the drill there. No other information about the cause of death was released. In reading the account, it seems ironic that it was mentioned that Mike Mason, one of Recarey's closest friends and a former Palm Beach police officer, said he last saw Recarey on a recent Thursday. Recarey took off work the next day to spend time with family. Now, the story was printed on a Friday, but I'm not sure if recent Thursday would apply to the previous day or possibly another Thursday in the past week or two. Regardless, all we know is he had a sudden, brief illness and died as a result at the young age of 50. Recarey was just one of two people willing to put his career on the line to go after Epic Find. Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Ryder was the other man that joined him. The Seattle Times reported on the two men and the work that took place in the case and the revelations that Ryder and Recarey brought to light. For Ryder, business tycoon Epic Find wasn't any more formidable than any of the other 8,000 or so wealthy and powerful people living on the island. Police had handled sensational cases involving wealthy residents before, from the murders of Harris's to the rape case involving William Kennedy Smith of the Kennedy family. The easternmost town in Florida, Palm Beach, is a 10.4 square mile barrier island between the Intercoastal Waterway and the Atlantic Ocean, populated by some of the richest people in the country. President Trump has his winter White House in Palm Beach, and the town makes news as much for its glitz as it does for its unusual efforts to preserve its well-mannered image, like banning shirtless joggers. But it was a little surprising, even to Ryder, to learn that one of its residents had a revolving door of middle and high school girls coming to his gated compound through the day and night. In their first media interview about the case, Ryder and Recarey revealed new details about the investigation and how they were, in his view, pressured by then Palm Beach State Attorney Barry Krishner to downgrade the case to a misdemeanor or drop it altogether. The piece is worthy of your time to read, not just for the information the two men provided, but also regarding how they were being followed. Their trash was disappearing and political pressure was being brought to bear on them, along with what they were discovering in terms of physical evidence. It became apparent to me that some of our evidence was being leaked to Epic Fine's lawyers, who began to question everything we had in our probable cause affidavit, Ryder said. The day of the search on October 20th, 2005, they found that most of Epic Fine's computer hard drives, surveillance cameras, and videos had been removed from the house, leaving loose dangling wires, according to the police report. But the girl's description of the house squared with what the detectives found, right down to the hot pink couch and the dresser drawer of SEX toys in Epic Fine's bathroom. Ryder said his own trash was disappearing from his house as his life was put under Epic Fine's microscope. Private investigators hired by Epic Fine's lawyers even tracked down Ryder's grade school teachers, the former chief said. Questions were raised about donations that Epic Fine had made to the police department, even though Ryder had returned one of the donations shortly after the investigation began. Ricari, meanwhile, said he began to take different routes to and from work and even switched vehicles because he knew he was being tailed. At some point, it became like a cat and mouse game. I would stop at a red light and go. I knew they were there, and they knew I knew they were there. I was concerned about my kids because I didn't know if it was someone that they had hired just out of prison that would hurt me or my family, Ricari said. Despite relentless political pressure, Ryder and Ricari soldiered on, and their determination yielded evidence that supported most of the girls' allegations, they said. They had phone records that showed Epic Fine and his assistant, Kellen, had called many of the girls. Epic Fine's flight log showed that the calls were made when Epic Fine was in Palm Beach. They obtained dozens of message pads from his home that read like a who's who of famous people, including magician David Copperfield and Donald Trump, an indication of Epic Fine's vast circle of influential friends. There were also messages from girls, and their phone numbers matched those of many of the girls Ricari had interviewed. Ricari said they read, courtesy called, she can come at 4, or Tanya can't come at 7 tomorrow because she has soccer practice. They also found naked photographs of underage girls in Epic Fine's closet, Ricari said. There were also witnesses. 2 of Epic Fine's butlers gave Ricari sworn interviews confirming that young girls had been coming and going at the house. One of the butlers, Alfredo Rodriguez, told Ricari that when he was tasked with cleaning up the master bath after Epic Fine's session with the girls, he often discovered sex toys. Once he accidentally stumbled on a high school girl whom he identified sleeping naked in Epic Fine's spa. He testified in a 2009 court deposition. Rodriguez said he was given the job of paying the girls, telling Ricari that he was a human ATM machine because he was ordered by Epstein to keep $2,000 on him at all times. He was also assigned to buy the girls gifts. Rodriguez gave Ricari copies of pages from a book that Epic Fine and his staff kept with the names and phone numbers for many of the Palm Beach girls, Ricari said. Rodriguez, however, held on to the bulk of Epic Fine's little black book, and in November 2009 tried to sell it for $50,000 to an undercover FBI agent posing as a victim's lawyer. He was arrested and sentenced in 2012 to federal prison and died 3 years later following an illness. The book, listing personal phone numbers for a cavalcade of Epic Fine's powerful friends and celebrities, eventually became public as part of a civil lawsuit. It listed more than 100 female names and phone numbers under the heading massage in every city where Epic Fine had homes. Makes you wonder if that brief illness was brought on by outside forces. The man was in good health and only 50 years old. The sudden death is made all the more strange because of statements made by Ryder. In 2010, Ryder gave an exclusive interview to the Daily Beast where he states that during the investigation, both him and Ricari became aware that they were under surveillance for several months by an unknown source. Ryder also previously stated that State Attorney Barry Krishner was hesitant to prosecute Epic Fine, causing Ryder to send a letter to Krishner complaining of the highly unusual conduct involved in this case. The State Attorney Krishner turned a blind eye to the case. That State Attorney Krishner turned a blind eye to this case is made all the more disturbing when you recognize he was also in charge of Florida's Crimes Against Children Unit, a position in which he could directly affect cases against individuals accused of crimes against kids. According to his obituary in 2013, Joe retired as a law enforcement officer and as one of the most decorated detectives in the history of Palm Beach Police Department, and accepted a position to work in the private sector. He joined Gold Coast Beverage Distributors, the fourth largest beer distributor in the country, as the director of loss prevention. After Gold Coast was sold, Joe was again recruited to join Gold Coast Holdings as the director of facilities, where he was responsible for more than 90 restaurant locations and several commercial buildings. Joe will always be remembered for his generous spirit and pursuit of justice for victims. His passion for helping others was contagious, and his steadfast devotion to his family was extraordinary. Joe never missed an opportunity to make people laugh, no matter the circumstances. Now, yes, it could be natural death, but given the circumstances and given the fact of who we are dealing with here, I doubt it. I really doubt it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Excuse me, I hate to chug a lug in front of you, but I'm trying to keep from coughing. All right, now let's go back and see what other trouble we can get into. And we looked at this, and let's look at this. All right. It says, Dorian makes landfall in Carolinas as pillaging, looting begins in the Bahamas. And pardon me, somebody brought it to my attention that in one of my last videos, I kept saying Barbados instead of Bahamas. I don't know why. I have no idea, but I did. So, yeah, I know it's Barbados, but I know it's Bahamas, but for some reason, I said Barbados. I don't remember saying it, but I believe the person that I did. So, forgive me for that error. Now, despite being downgraded to Category 1, winds still reached up to 90 miles per hour as Hurricane Dorian, I don't know what is wrong with me. It's like after 11 o'clock, my brain just snaps. And usually, I'm really alert at this time of night. I'm alert, but I don't know. I don't know what happens. I guess I've got Joe Biden syndrome. If my eye starts to bleed, just click off, save yourselves. Anyway, despite being downgraded, okay, it still reached 90 miles per hour as Hurricane Dorian blew ashore at Cape Hatteras, making its first landfall on the U.S. mainland, flooding homes in the low-lying ribbon of islands and throwing a scare into year-round residents who tried to tough it out. It's bad. Ann Warner, who owns a Howard's Pub on Ocracoke Island, said by telephone, the water came up to the inside of our bottom floor, which has never had water. She said a skylight blew out and whitecaps coursed through her front yard and underneath her elevated house. We're safe, Warner added, but it's certainly a mess. As of this morning, Dorian was moving northeast at 14 miles per hour, 22 kilometers an hour, and it is expected to remain a hurricane as it sweeps up the eastern seaboard on Friday and Saturday, far enough offshore that its hurricane force winds are unlikely to reach land. While the damage was far less than feared in many parts of the Carolinas, the war zone left behind in the Bahamas is getting worse by the day. And I figured that would happen because, you know, at first everything's shaking out, but then afterwards, like, there's people needing food. There's probably people that are deceased in homes. Yeah, it's always way worse after the hurricane. And I know because I went through one and it wasn't pleasant. 8 days without power was long enough for me in the South. All right, while the damage was far less, okay, I read that. There's just no way everyone's going to get out, says a woman fleeing Hurricane Dorian in the Bahamas, adding that people are trying to shoot each other for supplies. Wow. It's just total devastation. There's nothing left. And we know from what happened in New Orleans, in Katrina, that civilization can erode very, very quickly in a situation like that when there's not enough food, there's not fresh water. You had people in the Ninth Ward that, that was one of the most dangerous, that was dangerous real estate. The police didn't even want to go in there. And, you had a lot of drug addicts there and so forth that suddenly weren't getting their drugs. So you can imagine how, civilization can erode extremely quickly in a situation like that. We've seen that firsthand in America. It's just total devastation. There's nothing left, exclaimed one woman as she tried to flee the islands. People are starting to panic, pillaging, looting, trying to shoot people for food. Now, what does this say?
It's just total devastation. There's nothing left in most of Marsh Harbor. No homes, no banks, no gas stations, no hardware stores. It's just total, everything's gone. People are starting to panic, pillaging, looting, trying to shoot people for food and water. There's just no way everyone's gonna get out.
The experience was terrible, absolutely horrifying. It was during the storm. The last 24 hours went so bad that we were in a safe place. My son had a house, a second story, stayed intact. So that's where we've been since the eye of the storm. We've been there. Haven't been in. I'm in the same clothes that I was in the storm. Water was up to my neck. We stayed like that for 2 or 3 hours until the eye of the storm. We've been through all kinds of hurricanes, all kinds of storms. Never anything like that. I mean, it was like we were standing in the middle of the ocean. That's what it looked like. Waves of water just crashing in over us. Horrifying, absolutely horrifying. But all I can say, God was with us.
Now, here's the thing with this. Now, I do believe by the looks of the devastation that there is pillaging and looting, because there always is, although it doesn't look like there's too much left to loot and pillage. But, the problem is, and this is sad, that we can't trust these interviews anymore because we have been so inundated with crisis actors, right? So, I don't know. The first woman, yes, she definitely looks distraught. Her face is all red, but she sounds like she's crying, but there's no tears there. So I don't know if these are real people that are telling their stories or not. And I'm not willing to say it's not, but I'm not willing to say that it is either. So you guys can decide that. But I have no problem believing that there's a lot of looting and pillaging, and people are hungry. They're hungry. Now they're getting supplies in there, but they were getting supplies into New Orleans as well. But it didn't get to everyone at once. And there's people that died as a result. No fresh water. Can't live long without fresh water. As Yahoo reports, much of Great Abaco Island remains inundated, making emergency access difficult. Hundreds of boats, smaller dinghies, and large trawlers lie on their sides or flip like pancakes onto their decks, supine and abandoned to their fate by the receding ocean. We're the lucky ones, but it's hell everywhere, said Brian Harvey, a Canadian trapped in the Bahamas by the hurricane. That name sounds so familiar. And I know, because I'm Canadian, the whole time I was in the States, everybody said to me, "Oh, you're originally from Canada? Oh, do you know so-and-so?" I'm like, do you know that Canada is bigger than the U.S.? There's less people, but it's bigger. Chances are, no, I don't know him. But anyway, that name sounds familiar, Brian Harvey. A Canadian trapped in the Bahamas by the hurricane and desperate for a place on the helicopter. "We need to get out of here, man." The death toll has risen to 30. Now, that right there, that's a lie. There is not a chance that there are only 30 people dead there. Not a chance. When you have something that wipes the homes clean and all you've got is little matchsticks in the water, you know there's people that died and they probably got swept out to sea. So I don't believe that number at all, unless they're saying these are the only ones we've recovered. That could be the case. But, you know, unfortunately, and I hate to even say this, but probably some got swept out to sea, and there's sharks and ocean life that would take care of that very quickly. I'm sorry. I don't, mean to be insensitive to anyone that's lost a loved one, because it's horrible. And the other thing they're going to have to watch for is diseases, because there's stagnant water there, mosquitoes. Obviously, mosquitoes bring illness. There's probably dead animals in that water. There's probably humans in the water. So, yeah. As AP reports, the United Nations announced the purchase of 8 tons of ready-to-eat meals and said it will provide satellite communications equipment and airlift storage units, generators, and prefab offices to set up logistic hubs. UN humanitarian chief Mark Lowcock, okay, that's his name, I'm just saying. His name is Mark Lowcock, said about 70,000 people are in immediate need of life-saving assistance on Grand Bahama and Abaco. A British Royal Navy ship docked at Abaco and distributed supplies to hurricane survivors. On Grand Bahama, a Royal Caribbean cruise ship dropped off 10,000 meals, 10,000 bottles of water, and more than 180 generators, as well as diapers and flashlights. But the situation remains very far from hopeful for now. People will be out of jobs for months, 67-year-old woodcarver Gordon Higgs lamented. They will be homeless, no food, nothing. And that's true. Their places of employment are gone. I mean, these areas are vacation hubs. That's where they get a lot of their money, is tourism. Well, I don't think I would be wanting to tour there, at least not in the areas that were hardest hit. Just saying. So it's really a tragic situation, very tragic. All right, now. It's 11:17, and I do want to get this uploaded because I want you to know that I am doing a video tonight. So, but I'm going to just cover one other thing before I upload this. All right. Now, I love President Trump. I think he is the master troller of the world. You know how everyone was giving him a huge, amount of grief over the Sharpie pen. And he's right, because I've heard it now several places where they said that Alabama was in that cone. So, he was right, but he had used that Sharpie. And, people are calling it Sharpie-gate and making all sorts of memes. Well, what does Trump do? He is never one to, he's just so good at this. And this is on his official website. By the official Trump marker, which is different than every other other marker on the market, because this one has the special ability to drive CNN and the rest of fake news crazy. And then he has hashtag keep markers great. And it has his name on the marker in gold. I love this. I really love this. I would love to get me some. Official Donald Trump fine point markers. Set the record straight. Get your set of official Donald Trump fine point markers today. Donald J. Trump signature in gold, permanent ink, fine tip marker, non-toxic. And I think you get 5 of them for people were, saying, oh, it's a $15 marker and, how dare he and blah, blah, and it's not. You get 5 of these markers with Donald Trump's name on it for $15. Well, heck, if he can make money off of his whatever and this is going to drive them absolutely wild. So you can go to shopdonaldjtrump.com if you want to get yourself a marker. Hey, give them out as Christmas gifts. I don't know, but I love it. I love it. So, all right, that's going to be it for this video. I'm going to get this uploaded, and while I still have some energy, I'm going to come back. Okay. See you guys later. Have a good night. Keep seeking truth. Bye-bye.